All right, well, it's the last video of the series, people. Gonna do one more thing on quadratic functions and graphing them, and then I think that's it. I think that's unless you got something, unless you want to send me an email and be like, hey, I'd love to learn more about systems of equations or solving something, or I don't know, ask, and I'll probably do something if you want. But let's jump into our last little bit here. So we're gonna do another graph, but we're gonna make it more complicated. Did I go too? Yeah, sorry, I went too far. Let's go back to this for a second. So we didn't talk about the axis of symmetry, right? Is that middle part that splits these quadratics, right? So the axis of symmetry we've had in every problem so far has been the y-axis, okay? You see that the y-axis goes through all of these. We start 0, 3, 0, 1, our vertexes, 0, -2, our vertexes are on the y-axis. So now we're going to see how do we graph them if they're not on the y-axis, okay? So we only looked at graphs last time in the form of y equals ax squared and y equals ax squared plus c, okay? Now we're going to add the b term, okay? If we add bx, our axis of symmetry is going to be x equals -b divided by 2a, okay? That's how we're going to find our axis of symmetry and find our vertex. We need to use this little equation. -b over 2a. Just got to memorize that. X equals -b over 2a. Okay? And our vertex is also going to be, our x coordinate of the vertex is going to be equal to that. Then we got to plug that in to find the y. Then we get our vertex, and then we can do some more stuff, okay? So that's how we're going to do it. Let me show you some more graphs first. Let's see here. Sorry, hold on. Momentito, muchachos. Momentito. So this is what we started with in the other video. 1/2 x squared and 2x squared. And then, you know, we added like 3 and moved it up 3. Or we could have subtracted 3 and it would have moved it down 3. Okay, but you see that the axis of symmetry is still on. Even if we turn this negative and we flip it over, it's still starting on the y-axis. Okay, so now what we're going to do, let's look at our 2x one, we'll look at our blue one, is now we're going to add something like plus 2x minus 1. So now we're off the y-axis. Look at where our axis of symmetry is here. It's negative 0.5 and -1.5. It's hard to just see that from this equation, so that's why we use that little b term to find it. Okay, so that is what we're going to do now, is graphing it when we have a b term. Sorry, share my screen one more time with a different view. Okay, so again, this is y equals ax squared plus bx. Oh my gosh, that's the biggest plus sign you've ever seen, plus c. Now, does anybody remember what our axis of symmetry was? We need to find -b over 2a. So that's what we're going to start with. We're going to say x equals, because we're finding our x coordinate here, -b over 2a. Okay, so in this case, we get -6, because we just take our b, turn it negative, change the sign, over 2 times -3, which also gives us -6. So that means our x value here is 1. But we still haven't found our vertex yet. Okay, this is just the x coordinate of the vertex. So we've got to plug this in. So we're going to say y equals -3 times 1. Whoa, we went off the rails. It's gone horribly wrong, folks. Horribly wrong. Okay, -3 times 1 squared plus 6 times 1 plus 5. Okay, 1 squared is just 1 times -3 is -3. So we get -3. That's a 3, folks. Plus 6 plus 5. So what is that? 11 minus 3. which is 8. Does that seem right? Okay, so our vertex then is going to be 1, 8. So remember last time in the table, here, I'll just show you. I knew that her vertex was just going to be at 0. That's because we didn't have a bx term. So I just did this. Okay, just always, if it looks like this, just do -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Well, now, if you want to keep doing it in table form, which you can, you don't have to, right? We're going to go 1, 8. So I would go, really, 1 is going to be in the middle instead of 0. So we should do, sorry. On the lower side, to keep it symmetrical, we should do 0, -1. And on the upper side, we should do 2 and 3. And that will give us our 5 points that we want, the vertex and 2 on each side. Okay, and you'll see that this works because it'll be symmetrical, okay? So let's go back up. What was our equation? -3x squared. Okay, so now let's start at -1. -1 squared is going to give us, we're just going to get -3 here. -6 plus 5. So you can see how that b term is super important because it didn't really, the negatives didn't really matter without the b term, but now they do. Okay, so we get -9 plus 5 gives us -4. 0 should be pretty straightforward because this term goes away, this term goes away, so we get 5 for 0. 1 we already did because that's our vertex. We found 8. And then 2, we should get 5 as well. Let's double check though. 2 squared is 4 times -3 is -12 plus 6. Okay, so those go away. Do you see that? You get +12 here and -12 here, and so those cancel out, so you get 5 again. So it looks like we're in the right ballpark. And so this one should be -4. You should check it and make sure. Okay, so then we can go ahead and graph. Let's go by 2's again. 2, 4, 6, there's 8. Okay, and then we'll just go by 1's on these. So 1, 8 is, let's change colors. 1, 8 is here. And then we got 0. So 0, 2, 4, 5. And then 2, 5. And then -1 is here somewhere. And then it's -4. What great graphing by me. How beautiful is that? Not really. So it should look something like that. Sorry, yours is going to look so much better. But here's our axis of symmetry, right? So our axis of symmetry is going through +1, which we found up here, and our vertex is 1, 8. This one opens downwards because it was negative in the a term. It's actually not terrible. So there's how you graph quadratics that have a b term in them, right? If you have the y equals a x squared plus bx plus c, you got to use this. You got to use this to figure out where to start, okay? And then you can find your vertex and then find points around it. Okay, in this case, my vertex was 1, so I use 0, -1, 2, and 3. Whereas if you have a term like this, that's a lot simpler. You can just know you're going to start at 0. Hopefully that's helpful. If you need more explanation, shoot me an email. We'll see you later. And make sure you study and get ready for math this year, okay?